Welcome to the deep dive. You've probably noticed it, right? Those points you rack up shopping online, maybe the streak you're trying to keep on that language app, or even just, scrolling through your feed. We're interacting with gamification all the time, but maybe without fully realizing how these systems are built. For those of us who follow this, the big questions are really how is it so good at keeping us hooked? And why are some people even saying it might be a clear and present danger?
That's exactly what we're diving into today. At its core, gamification, well, it's about using game mechanics. Think points, badges, leaderboards, challenges, that sort of thing.
Right, stuff from video games.
Exactly, and putting them into contexts that aren't, actual games. The goal, to really ramp up engagement, keep people motivated. And it's fascinating because it plugs right into our basic psychology, like our drive for rewards or how we naturally compare ourselves to others. These platforms use that to create these really sticky, sometimes even, addictive experiences to keep us interacting longer. It's a seriously powerful tool, but a lot of different sides to it.
Yeah, addictive is a strong word, but you can't deny there are some huge upsides when it's done well. It can make boring tasks feel kind of fun, purposeful even. Gives you that sense of achievement. It really can be an engagement powerhouse.
So what are some of the really good examples? Where does it genuinely make things better for the user?
Oh, absolutely. There are loads of successful examples. Take social media, Instagram, TikTok, the likes, shares, follower count. That's basically a point system, right?
Mhm.
Snapchat uses streaks, activity badges, brilliant ways to get you logging in daily, builds habits, keeps you there longer. And their algorithms kind of mimic game progression too, always feeding you personalized stuff, new challenges,
Yeah.
keeps things fresh.
Those streaks are genius for habit building. Any other examples that really stand out as, clearly positive? Definitely. E-commerce is huge for this. Amazon, Alibaba. Their loyalty programs are all about points for buying things, writing reviews, referring friends, little incentives to keep you engaged. And think about Amazon Prime. Those rewards like faster shipping or special deals you sort of unlock. That subtly pushes you to browse more, stay active on the site.
Yeah, it's like that satisfaction you get clearing your email inbox, watching the number go down. That's gamification too, isn't it?
Exactly, that little dopamine hit. And education has seen amazing results too. Duolingo, Khan Academy, they turn learning into a game with streaks, levels, leaderboards. It's not just about making it superficially fun. It taps into our need for competence, feeling like you're getting good at something. That's self-efficacy. And giving you choices in how you learn. That hits our need for autonomy. We like feeling in control. That's self-determination theory. One study, the longitudinal one, found gamified learning boosted student retention by something like 42%. Huge difference.
Wow, 42%.
Yeah. And you see tools like Class Dojo or Goalbook bringing similar ideas right into the classroom now, too.
It really does seem like these apps tap into something deep psychologically. I've seen mentions of theories like, self-efficacy, that autonomy thing you mentioned. Can you break down how these psychological triggers actually work in gamification? It feels like more than just one simple trick.
You're spot on. It's definitely multi-layered.
Yeah.
So besides self-efficacy and self-determination, you've got social comparison. Leaderboards are the classic example showing you how you made her up.
Right. Creates a bit of competition.
Exactly. Then there's goal setting. Giving users clear targets provides direction, a sense of purpose. Flow theory is another one, that feeling of being completely absorbed in something.
Yeah, where time just flies by.
Right. Games are great at inducing flow, and gamified apps try to replicate that.
Mm.
And underpinning a lot of it is operant conditioning. Basically, rewards points, badges, positive feedback reinforce the behaviors you want people to repeat.
Mm.
All those good examples we talked about, they're essentially pulling these different psychological levers, often together, to create really compelling experiences.
Okay, so we've seen the good side, how gamification can genuinely be helpful, motivating, but like you said, it's a powerful tool. What happens when it's not used carefully? Because the sources we looked at suggest the downsides can be pretty serious. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Time to look at the flip side. One major risk is something psychologists call the overjustification effect.
Overjustification.
It's basically where adding an external reward for something you already enjoy doing can actually kill your internal motivation. Think of someone who loves painting just for fun. If they suddenly start getting paid for every piece, they might actually enjoy the act of painting less because the focus shifts to the money, the external reward.
Ah, I see. So the reward actually undermines the original enjoyment.
Precisely. In gamified systems, if you take away the points or badges, users might just stop doing the activity altogether because their intrinsic drives was weakened. Another big issue is just, well, poor design or misalignment. If you make it too competitive, you risk pushing away users who aren't naturally competitive. They just disengage.
Right, not everyone wants to be top of the leaderboard.
Exactly. And if the tasks are just boring, repetitive, even with game elements layered on top, people lose interest pretty quickly. It doesn't work long term. And in a business context, this can have real negative effects. Say you incentivize your sales team only on the number of sales closed.
Okay.
They might start rushing deals, pushing quantity over quality, which could seriously hurt the company's reputation later on. Or, if employees feel forced to participate in workplace games or point systems, it can actually create stress, resentment, and lower job satisfaction. The opposite of what was intended.
That's quite a twist. So it can actively backfire in the workplace.
Oh,
Which leads us to the really big concerns, right? The ethical side of things. What does all this mean for things like our privacy, our online safety, maybe even our mental well-being? This feels much heavier than just bad design.
it is. The ethical questions are definitely the most critical and potentially the most damaging. A huge one is the lack of transparency. Often, users just aren't aware of the real purpose behind the gamification. Why are these points really being awarded? This can slide into manipulation, using those psychological triggers we talked about without you even realizing it.
Manipulation, how so?
Well, Taewon Kim actually coined a term for one aspect of this, bullshitification. It's a bit blunt, but
Okay. Bullshitification.
it describes when you get so focused on chasing the superficial rewards, the points, the badges, that you lose sight of the actual value or purpose of the activity itself. You're just playing the game about the task, not doing the task meaningfully.
Right, chasing digital carrots.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And Yukai Chao, a big name in gamification, argues it's flat out unethical if there's a hidden agenda. Like, if you think you're just playing a game, but you're actually being signed up for something else without clear consent. Even things like the old McDonald's Monopoly game, while popular, face questions about transparency and whether the odds were presented clearly. Then there's the issue of addiction. This is a really serious one. Gamification can be engineered to give you those little dopamine hits when you achieve something.
That feel-good chemical?
Yeah, but that can lead to compulsive behavior.
Yeah.
People feeling driven to engage constantly, even when it starts messing with their actual life. And this is particularly worrying for, say, kids and teenagers who might be more vulnerable to these loops, especially when you use random rewards that can feel a lot like gambling.
Wow. So it can actually mimic gambling mechanics, even if it's not about money. That's concerning.
It absolutely is. It taps into the same variable reward pathways.
That really raises questions about corporate responsibility. And what about fairness? Can these systems create divides?
That's another critical point, fairness and conclusivity. If a system is heavily based on competition, what happens to those who are struggling? Think about a learning platform again. If only the top students get badges and recognition, it can be really demotivating for those who need the most help. It could actually widen achievement gaps.
Yeah, making the people already behind feel even worse.
Exactly. And then there are accessibility issues. What if the game elements aren't usable for people with certain disabilities? Or if they require tech that not everyone has? It creates an instant unfairness. And underpinning all this is privacy. Gamified systems often need your data to work, tracking your progress, your behavior. But are users always giving informed consent? Do they know how that data is being used, who it's shared with? Often not clearly enough. This opens the door to data breaches or data being used in ways you never agreed to.
Are there real-world cases where this has clearly gone wrong?
Unfortunately, yes. There were reports about the health app Zoe, where some users felt pressured or sort of bullied by the app's messaging into renewing subscriptions, not exactly fostering goodwill. Salesforce's learning platform, Trailhead, is generally well regarded, but some critics noted users becoming more obsessed with collecting badges than actually absorbing the skills. That's that bullshitification idea again.
Focusing on the symbol over the substance.
Precisely. And perhaps the most extreme, widely discussed example is China's social credit system.
Ah, yes, I've read about that.
It's essentially a massive state-run gamification system. It assigns scores to citizens based on their behavior, financial, social, online, everything. Low scores can lead to serious consequences, restrictions on travel, accessing services, loans. It's using these game-like mechanics for large-scale social engineering, often directly against people's own interests if they don't conform. It raises profound ethical questions about control and autonomy.
Okay, that's a lot to take in. Given these really serious ethical concerns: manipulation, addiction, fairness, privacy, even social control. How do we move forward? How can we make sure gamification is used responsibly? Are there solutions or frameworks to sort of guide developers and users?
Thankfully, people are actively working on this. A
Mhm.
huge piece of the puzzle is transparency and genuine user consent. It sounds simple, but it's critical. Users have to be fully informed. What's the goal of this system? How does it work? What data is it using? Yukai Cho, who we mentioned earlier, proposed a kind of two-pronged test for ethical gamification. First, is the designer totally transparent about the system's purpose? Second, does the user explicitly choose to opt in, fully understanding what they're agreeing to?
Transparency and real choice.
Okay, exactly. Which leads to user autonomy. Empowering users, not coercing them. That means clear information, easy ways to opt out, making sure people feel they are in control of their participation. Then there are ethical design principles. This is about the mindset of the creators. Prioritizing the user's well-being above just engagement metrics, actively avoiding dark patterns or manipulative tactics. Ensuring the gamification actually helps the user achieve their goals.
So, designing with ethics in mind from the start.
Right. And involving users in the process helps massively. Co-design approaches, where you get feedback from actual users throughout development, can catch potential ethical problems early and make sure the system is genuinely useful and fair. And finally, acknowledging that one size doesn't fit all. Tailoring and flexibility are key. What motivates one person might annoy another. Especially in education, design needs to be adaptable to different learning styles and needs.
So, we've really unpacked gamification today. It's clearly this incredibly potent tool, huge upsides for engagement, motivation, even learning when it's done right. But wow, the potential downsides, the overjustification, the poor design pitfalls, and especially those deep ethical concerns around manipulation, addiction, fairness, and privacy, they're significant. It really seems like the difference between good and ugly comes down to thoughtful, ethical, transparent design that puts the user first.
Absolutely. And it leaves us with a crucial question to reflect on, doesn't it? As gamification seeps into, well, pretty much every corner of our digital lives, how do we, as users, get better at spotting the difference? How can we become more critical consumers of these experiences? And what responsibility do we have to push for more ethical, more transparent digital spaces? Maybe start by thinking about your own interactions. Where do you feel genuinely motivated? Where might you feel subtly manipulated? Finding that balance is becoming increasingly important.